Hey y'all, my dear ones, my name is Olga Chebikina. Thanks a bunch for tuning in. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We do our best to provide you with the best content, the most informative, the most practical, the most useful in order to change our lives for the better. And we always keep an eye on the balance. We offer you various tools, we call different specialists. Personally, I think you're also missing classical psychology. And today I have such a guest, a person with 3 diplomas with honors. I bow down, adore, my respect and admiration. Anna Karavaeva, psychologist. Hey, babe. Hello. I'm absolutely sure that this will be useful for a huge number of women. Unfortunately, the topic of abusive relationships that we decided to touch upon in our first interview today is a popular one. It's in high demand, always getting a lot of responses and comments.
I had this one time when this girl I knew, who I've been talking to for a while, calls me in the middle of the night and says if I don't get in touch tomorrow, then most likely I've been killed. So we've been talking with this person for a long time, but nobody could fathom her husband was beating her. She never admitted it. She was just like, boom, crisis hit. She was sitting under the table. We pulled her out of the family because for us it was a shock. The guy was hiding, and then I was like, why? Why were you being so quiet? I am telling you, I never thought there would be something like that. And here is the most painful thing about it, the scariest thing for me, is that it is normal. The norm for many girls, dad was the one who did the beating, or mom, and then, well, that's natural. Well, okay, so he hit once. This doesn't look like it does in the movies, when they edited it and he keeps hitting her, and then she died. No, this is a cycle of abuse. It's very interesting. When at first the best man on earth.
Flowers, gifts, compliments, and all the experts say about it. I mean, it's very easy to fall in love.
And then they start to clamp, and bring themselves to the point where, well, some horrible things happen. Again, we're talking right now, about some serious stuff. They beat up, they kill. And there's an abuse that's simpler when they don't hit you, but you're already in a relationship. It's like being in prison. My story is the same. When you don't get it, it seems fine. No one's hitting or bothering. Something treats you well. You're loved. I realized that I'm living in a script of absolute victimhood, where life is all about pain, life is all about overcoming. It's always been like that, Then I went to see some shrinks. Then when I started doing scientific work, I realized that there was another way to figure things out. People live easy, they don't overcome anything, they just enjoy it. It was a miracle. So it seems like ordinary things, but it didn't feel that way to me back then. For me, it was a mind-blowing discovery. So I assume they do not simply stumble into psychology. You do not come alone. Other journeys by road will bring you.
Your understanding of relationships, parents doing well, living life together, just the way life is, chasing, running.
And of course, I found myself in this triangle too, in this familiar picture when you're overcoming, you're suffering, you know. Well, not that you can't. It's just weird. When to enjoy. No time to enjoy. Dad was a drinker. Socially, everything was fine with him. The family looked good. But inside, there were episodes of alcoholism when all the dishes were smashed. Mom was always in on it. She was cool with it. And it's like she even supported it, like she was covering up and hiding this whole story. And you understand that society sees this family from one side, but inside you, I do not want my children to be scared. Will the glass, mirrors, and all the dishes in the house be broken today or not? Once again, there is an intriguing perspective on money there. When my parents continued to say business is not our thing, money is not our thing, we will never succeed, and I did not comprehend why someone drives stylish, comfortable vehicles, why not our own, why not my own? And this really became like my true north. So I ended up in Moscow, and that's where I stayed. It just turned me off. I was repelled by the fact that I do not like it. That is also a good approach.
This is something we've been repeating for all our girls, not for the first time. If you're in pain, injured, if something doesn't suit you, please push away. This will be your starting point A, from which you will begin your own personal best life. You got married pretty early. Can you say that you're such a classic example of behavior pattern from one family to another right away?
I was supposed to repeat this scenario. Mom and dad live together, but they're getting divorced, and divorces suck. No matter how your relationship is, divorcing is a drag. I had to retell this story. I met a boy for sure. And yeah, of course, this is also such a questionable story. It's a miracle when people meet at a young age and live their whole lives together. I reckon that's more of an exception than a rule. And I know that for many people, it's like a real sticking point and problem. Nah, guys, there's statistics. Everything is fine. A monogamous family is like a 10, maybe 15-year deal. And next up, everything's fine. You can stop beating yourself up, stop worrying, and get divorced as much as you want.
I've been divorced twice and both marriages were happy. I won't get tired of repeating this. Girls, a lot of people won't believe me, and I understand why. About your first marriage, why did it start and why did it end?
It started because I followed the script. It was my first relationship. We got married, but it ended because my eyes started to open and I ended up in therapy. And so from this moment on begins the story of how therapy completely changed my whole life. Naturally, the topic of relationships came up endlessly. And at some point, we did a practice, and it really flipped my whole perspective, took my life in a different direction. The practice is all about taking sheets of paper, putting the first one down, standing on it, and finding yourself in the here and now. Here I am now discussing my life, relationships, and emotions. Then you select two paths. For instance, I'm in a relationship and I'm leaving one. And how will your life be in a month, in a year, in 5 years, in 20 years? And the same goes if I walked out of a relationship. When I was a 20-year-old girl, I walked on these little leaves, stomping my feet, and saw myself 20 years later if I got divorced. And in 20 years, if I am still in a relationship with the same person, with this person, and I did not really want to go there anymore because on that track, nothing has changed. So, what is a man even for? I don't get it. Yeah, there's money to be made, work to be done, and that's where his manly duties end, putting together a cabinet. And a woman, she's got women's stuff to do, plus she can work. And since I was studying, working, and had other women's business, I slept very little. After school, I was heading to work at the restaurant. Last night at 12, I was coming back, and if there was no more borscht, then I had to cook borscht. And also do the laundry and who will do the laundry? Once when I was on the subway, I fell asleep standing up. Naturally, I was unhappy, thin as a rail. What a joy, what a college life. I don't know what that is, regrettably. Because, when you run from school to work, then you either have laundry or some other task that needs attention. Naturally, we brought all of this up in therapy, so I walked along this route. And in that life, there was a lot of creativity, a lot of psychology, a lot of enjoyment. And probably that was the first time I said to myself, yeah, I can do it, and I made up my mind. I did not come to him right away. I am now a year older, got divorced, and started this here free, single, and wonderful life. Yes, not without adventures.
To understand, in this practice, it's vital to be honest with yourself. If the girl tolerates the same husband who hits her yearly, she'll be stuck in this cycle every year.
Here you have to ask yourself this question: what emotions am I feeling at each stage of the process? It's already hard to take. When someone hits you, no matter how much you say it's fine, how do you really feel? You undergo pain, you undergo horror, and when don't they physically assault you, you must initiate with small steps.
A healthy person doesn't belittle themselves or others. I ain't gonna put nobody down, but I'll never let nobody put me down. Here he is, a simple law, very strong. If you see the whole world through it, everything becomes clear. It becomes clear about colleagues, partners, close people, relationships between adult children and parents, whether there is health or not. Please enlighten me on how, as a person with prior psychological preparation and knowledge at that time, you ended up experiencing adventures with abusive and unhealthy relationships following your first marriage. You really handled that situation so smoothly.
I am meeting this incredible individual who involves me in our preferred pattern of mistreatment. It turns on very nicely, as it should. How does this occur? When an individual literally at the initial meeting or prior to the meeting, if it is someone acquainted, they discover what you desire, what dreams you have, and then he transforms into a prince. Whether it's true or false, his intention to deceive is irrelevant. However, then he begins dishing it out to you, and you receive a fairy tale, just like they wrote in the books, and it's even better. When females engage in conversations about entering into relationships, they consistently express, "You lack understanding of me because you have no knowledge of what love is truly like." But they don't know what mess they've gotten themselves into, really. There are words and gifts, and he arrived, and he encountered extremely good, extremely plain. And due to the fact that the majority of the girls are injured because the majority of them have experienced pain, and I fell for it just the same. The state you were in before this still matters in that particular location. So, like, often it's someone who died, got fired, some dissatisfaction with life. So you're weakened, your criticality in life is weakened. They simply perceive it, appear at that particular moment, and commence their game. And there's no other way to describe it. It's not even a game. They include you in this story, and then slowly, little by little, rewarding you afterwards for each of your actions, they take something away from you. Girls who are religious do not dress like that. I have a strong preference for maxi skirts, for instance. Listen, what a girlfriend. You see, the anti-hero wishes. So gradually, you don't notice how you find yourself in a situation without any girlfriends. You're already dressed properly. Someone inserts breasts. Someone does operations you didn't plan to do. Do what you want, but when you want it, not when you were told what you should be. And a person changes to fit someone else. Well, I'm talking about others, but I'm also good. I also turned out to be involved in all of this.
What were your initial indications, or perhaps you entirely overlooked them when you found and had suspicions that something was amiss? Because this vanilla candy bouquet period, she didn't figure it out, young, trusted, okay.
The thing is, I saw it, I understood that it was trouble. I just knew right away no need to go there. I haven't planned to marry for 20 years. Okay, let's take a walk, meet up, have a good time, it'll be awesome and all. Oh no, it's not gonna happen. You've already been hooked on this. Don't bother going out, taking a stroll, or meeting up with any narcissists, abusers, or psychopaths, please. There are still a large number of normal men, amounting to billions, residing on the planet Earth. And that's when I jumped into the game on this topic, and then it sucks you in like a snowball. I've got a major crush going on here. No one has ever loved like this in the world. No book has been written about that. Well, of course.
He skipped your B-day, you waited for him at the restaurant.
Yeah, he didn't attend my birthday, not a big deal. No call, no info. He knew his friends were there. He just didn't show up, and then, well, I had things to do, and I even swallowed that, and even that I swallowed. However, to be fair, it taught me a great deal. Do not ingest any other substances. How did you get out of that relationship? It happened around New Year's. And it became clear that on New Year's, most likely I'll be alone. Clearly, this guy is going to be with some other woman in a different location at some point in time. That was clear as day. Of course, he was lying about everything. But how much longer can we go on? I've seen something before. During that time, about 1.5 years or 2 had passed, and I decided it was now or never. Packed my stuff, threw it in the car, and headed to my parents' place. December 31st. It was a night. The snowstorm is awful. There are no cars on the highway at all. But I have this feeling that I need to hide. If I don't hide, he'll bother me again, he'll persuade, convince, and tell me again. I must hide. I've slept for almost 2 months, not waking up. My mom fed me there with spoonfuls of broth, rousing me from sleep. I don't remember that period at all. I spent 6 years trying to get out of this mess. I haven't had any relationships for the past 6 years, I was trying to find myself, but to be fair, I was doing it with a sense of fun. This time, finally, I had a blast doing it. I moved to live in China. I traveled around Southeast Asia, all by myself with a backpack, working remotely. However, I was consistently thinking about him, recalling him in my thoughts. 6 years. Oh my God, they didn't value you at all. They didn't appreciate you. Your worth was swept under the rug. And you still keep returning to it, and I am aware that a whole bunch of people live their lives in that way. Then, at some point, when I came back to Russia, I found myself in Moscow. I'm thinking like a woman on a mission with a tail. Let's build a relationship, get married, have kids. And nobody sees, you're just a ghost, invisible for men. I started to think, like why? And I still remember some dates, some stories. For some reason, I keep grinding them in my head. And at that moment, I said, right now, either you tell yourself stop and leave, or that's it. I locked myself at home, opened my notebooks, textbooks, and sat down to write. I started doing all the practices that are possible, that I know myself. And after a day, I registered on a dating site. And before that, I was on a dating site, I deleted it, then started doing internships, registered, and by morning I had 100 messages, the next day another 100. And these were already cool individuals, like genuinely fascinating, with whom it is the most enjoyable. They inquired me out and I commenced going on dates. I had 6 dates per day. Amazing. I was getting my ducks in a row during lunch, in the evening. And that's it. Your life changes. I'm a huge fan of psychotherapy. I absolutely love it. It's been my whole life. And I do not know what can alter life in such a way. Seriously, more impressive than any form of magic.
Listen, this is mesmerizing. You helped yourself. Did you meet your spouse online? Yeah, sure. Met on a website, 7 years of marriage, 2 kids.
Certainly, it is preferable to raise your own children in the manner that I would desire for my daughters. It's always like this. Have a happy childhood and peaceful relationships, as much as they want, but calm.
An incredible profession, an astonishingly beautiful journey. Thanks and see you later.
Bye.